Let's face it, business technology is frustrating and complex. So how do you make sure it works for your team? To make IT right, start the discussion at go-domain.com. You're listening to Discussions by Domain, a podcast for business leaders. Our discussions may be with people you've probably heard of before, but the majority of our guests are in the trenches, professionals like you and I, with the same challenges and struggles of keeping up in the Northeast. They're implementing strategies, overcoming hurdles. They're leading the fastest growing businesses in our region. My name is Anthony DeGraw, Director of Partnerships at Domain Computer Services, and the host of this show. When I'm not talking with business leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of Domain and the ups and downs of our own growth journey, as we intend to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show. So welcome to another episode of Discussions by Domain. Today we are welcoming back Mr. Tom Murdoch. He is the Senior Manager over at EisnerAmper in the New York City office. Last time, he spoke about managing expectations and communications through the audit process. And today I wanted to get him back on to talk about what working in public accounting is actually like and dispelling some of these myths of individuals that are in the field actually today. And even kind of get this episode out for them in terms of kids in college currently, whether it's community colleges or getting their bachelor's degree at any type of state schools. So really understand from somebody who's in the field and been in it for a little while, what's actually going on in this world. Tom, welcome back, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. I guess the first one went okay, huh?
Yeah, yeah, definitely did. And I think that's airing soon. This is we're doing this on December 3rd, and I think your first episode's going live tomorrow, I believe. So
tomorrow.
That'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear it. You know, it's one of those, I don't like hearing myself speak, so it's going to be interesting. You know, I'm going to have to give it to somebody else to see how they think it went.
Yeah, no, that's good. Shoot it over to your mom or your dad, and you'll get the best answer out of
Make them proud of me.
Cool. So let's dive into this. What are the typical myths that you hear of in the actual field in working in public accounting?
Most of the times those myths come from people that are not in the field. There are a lot of them, but I guess to name a few, the biggest one you ever get is, you're an accountant, so you can do my taxes, or can you do taxes, right? And it seems to just be the one thing that's associated with the accounting profession. So although I did do taxes in my prior career for a couple of years, I am not a tax professional, but I can try.
Yeah. No, that's it. And when you're saying taxes, you mean personal taxes, right?
Yeah, pretty much personal. People think personal because that's what they relate to themselves, but
yeah. So you don't do your whole family's tax returns?
I do my brother's tax return because they're simple.
All right, good stuff. I have one for you. I've read and we're doing research for this. One of the common myths out there was an accountant's job description involves crunching numbers all day. And I've heard that too. I don't know from whom, probably multiple different people not in the profession, but from the outside looking in, that is definitely something I thought about.
Sure. Today's a work day for me, and I'm not crunching numbers right now, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you get that a lot, and part of it, I think part of all myths are based out of some sort of truth, because you are on your computer, you're dealing with Excel, and, you're dealing with formulas and adding up numbers, but, it's just a very small part of your day. It's, whenever you have a task assigned, once you complete it, you're kind of done, but most of what I'm doing and people are doing on a daily basis are dealing with teams, dealing with their clients. They're on the phone, they're writing emails, they might be writing memos. It's not just, taking numbers from some kind of report, putting them into your computer and just, doing that all day with your head down. So that is definitely a big myth.
Yeah, very good. And I've also heard that some of the best accountants out there are able to tell a story about the numbers. So yes, you got to know the numbers, but how do you communicate those numbers and tell the story of a business or an entity or an organization?
Yeah, and I mean, that's actually a very good point. I mean, me being in the audit profession, our main objective is to give an opinion on the financial statements of, whatever company or entity that has engaged us to do so. And the numbers are only about on 4 pages. You have your balance sheet, your profit and loss statement, your cash flows, and your equity statement. And the remainder of the report is what you said. It's a narrative, basically. What is this company? What do they do? And what do the numbers mean? And that's because if an investor picks up, a financial report, whether to invest in this company, take their money out, whatever the case may be, they can't just take the 4 main statements with the numbers on it and understand exactly what they mean. So yes, we have to be able to, not necessarily that we write the financial statements. Some people are allowed to, but we have to be able to understand the entity, provide comments on, that narrative. So yes, what the point you made right there is definitely true. And what I do with most of my work and most of my clients.
Awesome. I had one more from my research before we get back to your list over there that I know you had prepared. Sure. But a big thing is accountants are limited to public accounting work for their entire career. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess for me, being here now 8 years, that might be true for me. And if I end up, going that route and becoming partner, but typically people who start in the public accounting practice do not stay until, they reach that partner level. So I would just say an average class that we have over here at EisnerAmper, maybe about 24 entry-level positions for audit and tax. I would say by the time you get 7-8 years into your career, that class has dwindled to about 2 to 5, depending.
Wow. Yeah.
So, most people go on to other careers. Public accounting, I think, is a great basis to start and figure out your career, get a good business base, understanding companies. And, a lot of people will go to their clients to be a controller, eventually, hopefully a CEO or CFO, more the natural progression. But I mean, I've had people here leave for many, many different reasons and to many, many different careers. And it's all based on, what kind of experience they got in public accounting. But definitely not true. I would say that's probably the thing that's least true is that most people stick in public accounting.
Yeah. We were talking before we recorded, but one of the companies that I've worked for, which was a smaller organization, but I was telling Tom before we started that the guy was an absolute whiz, and he came from, I think, 15 maybe years, 20 years within public accounting and switched over to the insurance side of the house. And he was just an absolute whiz in terms of policy terms and conditions and language. And then bringing that accounting knowledge of how businesses are run, he was able to just dissect a business and management, professional liability. It was amazing to see this guy work. And that all came from his knowledge that he gained on the public accounting side.
And it's funny you say that, and that actually reminds me of someone who actually I worked for here who was a partner, and he was a whiz, and he knew everything about the clients that he worked, for or was engaged by, and he was just really good at understanding their business. And, he got to the highest level you can get to in public accounting, pretty much a partner. And this client that we worked on together basically saw so much value in him that they created a CFO role, which they did not previously have. Their structure was just not like that. And they offered him the position, and he actually took it. And he left public accounting as a partner to become a CFO of a private company. And he's there, and he's doing well. And that's kind of just, jumping on to what you had mentioned, and also just letting everyone out there know that, even if you do stay for a long time and get to that level, there's no saying that you still have to continue and finish your career there. Yeah. There's always opportunities out there if you have the skills.
That's awesome. That's a good case study for somebody that you worked with as well. What else you got on your list over there? Those were the two I had.
Yeah, so we did cover, some of them on my list because those are definitely a few of the myths. One, I think, is around this busy season that everyone is so fearful of when they enter public accounting or they're in it, and they make it seem like it's so bad. But to be honest, I'm not working till midnight every night. I'm not working 7 days a week. It's not the entire year. It's a few months. They're paying for my lunch. They're paying for car service home. Everybody's here with me, so I don't feel like I'm alone and I'm the only one. So that busy season rumor, yeah, it sounds terrible, but once you get into it, it's kind of a normalcy, and it's really not as bad as people make it seem. And then the other thing is what I always get, and it comes back to the crunching numbers, is you're an accountant, you must be good at math. And to be quite honest with you, I was never good at math.
Okay.
And, not to make myself sound like I'm terrible at math, but, you're adding, subtracting, dividing, and multiplying is really the essence of the complexity of the math, that we deal with. So just because you're an accountant doesn't mean you're a nerd or you're good at math, but you do deal with math. Put it that way.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's you're not getting you're not getting too crazy. You're not developing algorithms and things like that.
Correct. And the more you can understand those things and the better you are at math, you'll run into some areas that will definitely help you. But the majority of it, if you are not a good math student, do not let that deter you from the profession. I'll tell you that.
Gotcha. And I had just had one come top of mind. One of the myths that I've heard, and you are the complete opposite of, is that accountants are not people, and they're dull and they're boring and whatnot. And you, my friend, have the complete opposite personality of that. So why don't we talk about that myth as well?
Well, I definitely appreciate the compliment. It's very high praises coming from someone who possesses those skills even better than I do. But yeah, it's one of those professions that from the outside looking in, you think of it as one way. However, the people who really succeed and get ahead are the people who can communicate, who can engage with their clients, with their team members. It's not a head down single job where you work for yourself and you get your work and you do it and you go home. You report upwards and you have people underneath you, and you're working for a client, multiple clients. So being a people person or being good with people will make you that much better, and you actually do need it to succeed.
Awesome. Good stuff. So those were some very good myths that I think we were able to dispel there and hopefully give some insights to people considering this as a career path. How does somebody enter public accounting? Like, what is I want to say typical path, because I know that can be, but what advice would you give to somebody who's looking to enter public accounting?
Sure. Well, definitely need a college degree. I would say it is one of those professions that you would, if you wanted to be a professional, an accounting professional, you'd need a degree in some kind of business. Typically it's accounting or finance. When I was, again, this is on the technical side. When I was back, you needed 120 credits, degree in accounting or finance. And basically what they wanted is for you to be able to have the qualifications to sit for the CPA exam, which if you wanted to be an accounting professional, eventually you need to get that exam. You would not be able to advance past a certain point in your career if you did not have that. So that would be the technical side. Hey, college degree, being able to sit for the CPA exam and get the license.
Gotcha.
Very important in the profession. But if it was advice for somebody wanting to do it, I'll tell you a quick story about me. I always wanted to be a stockbroker. And, as I was going through college, I said, maybe that's not the best profession. It seemed like it was on its way out, and I wanted to get the best business base, especially not knowing what exactly I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And what careers were actually out there. And, when you talk to people and you think about accounting, it's involved in every single business. So I decided to, study accounting and try and get into a public accounting firm, being that I thought, even though I didn't know what I wanted to do, I would have a really strong foundation and, could take my career in a bunch of different directions having that base. So I guess my point there is if you don't know exactly what you want to do and you want to go into business or accounting, study accounting, or try and get into public accounting. It is a great foundation. You will see a lot of different industries, a variety of experiences with different types of clients and people, and the different types of work you do in public accounting, especially early on in your career. It will also help you figure out what you like and what you want to do.
I like that a lot. And then once you've entered public accounting and you've decided this is a path that you're on board with, how does somebody get from that initial, I guess it would be a staff accountant, to the partner level? Like, what does that path look like for somebody that once they get in?
Yeah, so I think, being EisnerAmper being the only accounting firm that I've been at, I'll speak to them, but I know it's very similar at most places. And early on in your career, I think it's pretty laddered. You have your kind of hierarchy, you're a staff accountant for about 2 years, and then you're a senior or a senior associate for another 3, and that's kind of where you're learning and working with the, kind of the technical knowledge, doing a lot of repetitive things because, you want that ingrained in you.
Yeah.
So that like 3 to 5 years is kind of, you're doing the grunt work and you're learning. And, as you get kind of later on to that like 4th or 5th year, you're starting to transition to that manager role. You may have some people underneath you and you're responsible for their work. So not only are you doing your work and still learning, you're kind of learning now how to delegate stuff to staff so that you can do higher level work. So, outside of that, 1 to 5 year, now you start to become more in a managerial role. So, you're a manager, senior manager, director. You're talking about, anywhere from, 4 to 7 years there. Again, it's fairly laddered. So now I just went from 5 to 7. So you're looking at 10 to 12 years before you're potentially looked at to be a partner. Now, I'm sure they have their sights on you earlier than that, but you're looking at a 10 to 12 year career doing the work, managing the work before you're ready to take that next step to partner. And then, becoming a partner then becomes, a business case. Not everyone makes partner. And there has to be a business case for you to manage certain relationships. And you also have to be good enough in your technical expertise, your people skills. Once you enter a partnership, the other partners want to be able to know that you're going to bring value to their partnership. If not, you're just going to be a drag, on their income. So there's a lot that goes into it. But typically it's very laddered. And then, as you get into that late managerial role, it kind of becomes, you're going to stay, you're going to be sitting at that role for a while. When are you going to be partner? But yeah, I'd say 10 to 12 years, you're kind of learning. And as you're transitioning from doing to managing, and then you kind of in that manager role for a certain amount of years until, you're ready to become partner or they have the availability and capacity to bring you on as a partner.
Gotcha. And how important is communication in developing from that staff accountant through to partner?
I mean, I think it's of the utmost importance, I think, in life as well as in your professional career. If you're someone who's not a good communicator, no one's going to know what you want, right? So if you don't communicate, whether it's the way you work or even just, explicitly saying it, how would anyone know you wanted to be partner?
Yeah.
No one's going to assume. So just from that aspect, communication is key. But, growing, I find that the best people on my jobs are not the people who do the work the fastest or, maybe are the neatest or do it the best. It's the people who communicate with me. It's the people who keep me in the loop. It's the people who let me know what they're working on so that I can plan my day and when I need to do things. Because again, it's one of those jobs where there's multiple levels of review and, the belt needs to keep moving. So if that person at the lowest level didn't finish or didn't let me know, how can I plan what I need to do and what I need to give them, what tasks I need to assign them next.
Yeah.
So, communication, and I tell my teams, it's of the utmost importance on my engagements, and I just think overall in the profession. And I think it does fall on deaf ears sometimes, and people just don't think they need to communicate, which can set you up for failure many times.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Tom, thank you once again so much. I know you're a busy man. You got a panel to go to internally here to hype some people up about the season coming up for you guys. I appreciate your time. I don't want to take too much more of it. This is the second episode you were gracious enough to do with us. So once again, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We'll get this out to everybody, and I'll see you for March Madness.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Good stuff, man. Have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you.
All right, and you too. Thanks for having me.
To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device. To help us get the word out, share with a friend, leave a review, and check out our discussions on the web at go-domain.com/podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.